of digital information, says the governor. Yet another setback for Paytm. SEBI sends a show-cause notice to Vijay Shekhar Sharma and Board of Directors from 2021 over non-compliance with promoter classification norms during the IPO process. Ladakh gets 5 new districts: Zanskar, Dras, Sham, Nubra and Changfang. Home Minister says the new districts will take the benefits meant for the people to the doorsteps. Russia launches about 200 missiles and drones at Ukraine, killing 5 people and striking energy facilities nationwide. Kyiv says, meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asks for joint European backing to thwart the Russian operations. Israel-Hezbollah exchange heavy fire. Hezbollah fires more than 200 projectiles. Israel declares a 48-hour state of emergency and shuts its main airport for several hours. Well, good evening and welcome. You're watching Profit 360 on NDTV Profit. I'm Nupur Talwar Suri. We begin, as always, with a look at all the market action today. Well, it was a day of cheers as the bulls returned to the Lal Street. All sectors except PSU banks and media ended the day in the green, and Harsh Saita has all the details.
Well, a strong day in markets to start the week, at least on the benchmarks. Even the broader markets did fairly well, given the fact that they outperformed the Nifty 50 last week. So they've started off on a fairly resilient note. The advanced decline in the positive, the breadth of the market decently strong to start the week off. But really all the action was within the Nifty 50 counters. We saw good traction, especially in IT. Something like an HCL Tech did very, very well. Metal stocks were in focus. They did very well in trade today. You saw both banking, but especially private banking within that entire banking pack participate well as well in trade today. Among the top contributors were heavyweights. Reliance on the back of AGM, HDFC Bank doing fairly well and chipping in its set of contributions on the Nifty. And within the IT as well, you saw HCL Tech do very, very well, up nearly 5% at close. We held on to the 25,000 mark, which is the key positive. Where it comes to broader markets now, given the fact that we saw a good outperformance last week, today's performance not bad at all, around 0.5% higher, both on the Nifty mid-cap as well as the small-cap indices. Some specific stocks in play, of course, we saw something like a Paytm down 5% on the back of SEBI pulling up the promoter group on promoter classification, and we also saw good traction on the positive side in the last half hour or so on Aarti Drugs. Those were some big movers intraday in trade today. Aarti Drugs approving a buyback for 900 rupees a piece, a 50% upside, even from very close to 50% upside even from close over here on the buyback price actually. Now, just in terms of some of the other big movers, IT did well. Of course, we spoke about metals, but oil and gas stocks were also in focus. You saw NTPC, ONGC do very, very well on the benchmark as well. But overall, it was a solid day of trade with the benchmarks leading the rest of the market.
All right, Harsh, thank you for that. And the markets were also cheered by the U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's statement at Jackson Hole, where he made it clear that the rate cuts were round the corner. Global head of G10 FX Research Standard Chartered Bank, Steve Englander, talked about Powell's comments.
The only thing he didn't say was that he was thinking about 50, but I think I was implied in some of his comments that if it turns out the unemployment rate is, keeps going up and that inflation keeps approaching target, they're far away from neutral in terms of Fed funds. So at some point they may have to do a 50. Market thinks that it would be sometime in Q4. We think it's going to be in Q1, but I think that there's room for that, given, if the forecasts and expectations play out.
Well, let's now take a look at the global markets that traded mixed on expectations of a rate cut in the U.S. and rising geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. Wall Street opened little changed. coming off a strong week, which was emphasized by comments from Fed Chair Jerome Powell that interest rate cuts are on the horizon. S&P 500 on Friday closed less than 1% away from its record high from July. Now, European stocks, on the other hand, were trading mixed. This was mostly on the back of rising tension in the Middle East following strikes by both Israel and Hezbollah over the weekend. Now, the Reserve Bank of India has launched Unified Lending Interface, or ULI, for faster loan dispersal. The ULI is expected to play a similar role as UPI did in consumer payment space. Vishy, in fact, is joining us for more on this. Vishy, the big question that everybody is asking today is that will it actually be a game changer like UPI was?
This is essentially a rechristening of a product that the RBI had piloted last year. Back then, it was called the Public Tech Platform for Frictionless Credit. That was a very, very mouthful of a name. But currently, the new name that the RBI has given to this entire product is ULI, or the Unified Lending Interface. How does it work? Well, essentially, what this interface does is it collects information about a borrower from all available sources, which could be the tax department, it could be Aadhaar, it could be land documents, it could be other sort of securities that this person owns, and will give you a likelihood of this person being eligible for a certain loan or not, and thereby the customer can avail whatever loans that they want in a relatively short span of time. Currently, it takes about roughly 8 to 10 days before a loan is cleared off, even for especially for the MSME and agri sector to which this is focused at. So yes, time will come down, and yes, this will make loans way easier for the borrowers. But remember that at this stage, it is still in the pilot stages. The RBI is talking about launching a nationwide sort of rollout, but that is still some time away. There's no timeline specifically given for that, Nupur. But lastly, what this will do is likely do for credit what UPI did for consumer payments.
All right, Vishy, thank you for that. Now, the Union government over the weekend notified the Unified Pension Scheme, or the UPS. Now, this will now replace the old pension scheme, or OPS. The government had issued a new pension scheme plan, but due to a lot of opposition, had actually had to rework it. Now, Maharashtra has become the first state to implement the Unified Pension Scheme. There are multiple questions to consider, and it has become a subject of a heated political debate as well. What is it, and how will it impact different categories? Pallavi Nahata joins in with the details.
Now, while the Unified Pension Scheme assures a minimum pension to government employees, most labour unions continue to ask for a rollback of the employee contribution component. Now, the Unified Pension Scheme does meet the demand of assured pension at 50% of the last drawn average pay. But it stays with the system where the employees too contribute towards their pensions, and the entire burden does not fall on the government. While that's prudent for government finances, that's the part where most labour unions are unhappy. Assured family pension and assured minimum pension are also other pros of the Unified Pension Scheme. For instance, in case of assured minimum pension, that stands at about 10,000 rupees a month on superannuation after a minimum of 10 years of service. Like we mentioned, what does not work is, of course, the fact that the Unified Pension Scheme is also contributory in nature, and employees are expected to contribute 10%. The fiscal impact of the Unified Pension Scheme also is currently unclear. That's something that economists are still waiting for more clarity on to determine what the hit to the government will be. The government's outgo will depend on a number of factors, including how many employees actually opt for the Unified Pension Scheme and what market returns are like, etc. But broadly, the impact is not expected to be too significant for the government.
All right, Pallavi, thank you for that. Moving on. Bad news for Paytm. The market regulator, SEBI, has sent a show-cause notice to Vijay Shekhar Sharma and the board of directors from 2021 over non-compliance with promoter classification norms during the IPO process. Rishabh Bhatnagar is joining us with more details. Rishabh, take us through what this means for Paytm.
What we're learning is that this is a show-cause notice that has been sent to a few board of directors that were on the board of Paytm back in 2021, as well as the founder CEO Vijay Shekhar Sharma. While we do not have access to the notice yet, but what we know is that there are certain entities that are in receipt of this notice, and this is now pertaining to the non-compliance of the IPO classification norms. So the heart of this matter is that Vijay Shekhar Sharma was not classified as a promoter when he probably should have been. A leading advisory firm called IIAS has also pointed this issue out back in 2023. And the fact that Sharma's status during the IPO is under question. Now, this is another regulatory issue. As most of you would remember, back in January 2024 is when Paytm Payments Bank was pulled up by the RBI for a whole lot of issues, and thereby we've seen what that has done to Paytm stock. Now, what's interesting is that the BSE and the National Stock Exchange both have taken cognizance of this news, and Paytm's reply is expected to come out soon on this matter. And what we're also seeing is that this notice could make the path for Paytm's payment aggregator license even more difficult. It recently got the government's nod on whether it would be able to reapply for that payment aggregator license, but that seems unlikely given that there is another regulatory issue that has come up.
And in fact, here is InGovern's Sriram Subramaniam talking about this.
SEBI itself has floated a discussion paper saying that they need to move, Indian markets need to move away from the definition of promoter to persons in control. So to that extent, I think the concept of promoter itself has outlived its usefulness. India is one of the few markets in the world to have this definition of promoter. So it's not clear as to what is the promoter role doing in that sense. And SEBI itself has been evolving its own definition. So to that extent, the thinking has been changing. So it would be interesting to see whether SEBI will now revisit what it only approved 3 years ago.
Now, Chris Gopalakrishnan, the chairman of Axelor Ventures and co-founder of Infosys, expects the Indian IT industry to witness muted growth in FY25. While speaking to NDTV at CII's event InnoVerge 2024, he added that the IT industry is going through a refresh with the impact of artificial intelligence and machine learning.
When I say muted, probably somewhere between, let's say, 4 and 8% this year. But in the medium to long term, I'm very optimistic about the industry. This industry has grown every single year for the past 40 years, every single year. And it continues to recruit. NASSCOM has given a projection that industry will recruit about 60,000 people at least this year. Down from previous years, but at least it's recruiting. And industry will do very well in the long term.
In fact, we also spoke to Kamal Bali of the Volvo Group India to understand the company's growth outlook for the rest of FY25.
There are many factors which are always at play. The monsoons, the focus on constant focus and spend on infrastructure, which of course is very, very positive given the budget which was announced in July as well. There's a continued focus on infrastructure. So we believe, I think it should be in good double digits. I mean, I think it could be anywhere between 12 to 18% to my mind.
Well, it is a setback for Punekars who love their Burger King restaurant. Now, the Bombay High Court has temporarily stopped the Pune joint from using the name. This is because the American fast food giant had gone on to appeal, and Charu Singh has more details.
So let's try to understand this matter in a chronological manner. In the year 1954, we have Burger King coming into our landscape and becoming a worldwide famous global food chain. Meanwhile, it had not yet come to the Indian market yet, and it was not famous here. But in 1992, an Irani couple in Pune starts their own burger joint by the name of Burger King. Now, this Burger King joint starts growing famous and people start getting to know about it, and it has its own popularity and its own audience, its own people, own customers. Now, suddenly Bombay is the place where Burger King comes and files a case before the Bombay High Court saying that this particular joint cannot be using the name Burger King, as it is something that they have been using for a very long time globally. Now this Pune joint is saying that since our customer bases are different and you are a global giant while we are a small joint which is already doing this business for a long while now, 2 decades, we should also be allowed to use this. A Pune Civil Court recently came up with a ruling saying that this particular case is something where both the parties have not been able to prove any wrongdoing on part of each other, and that is why both of them should be allowed to use the name. Now the case has come before the Bombay High Court once again, and the Bombay High Court has asked the Pune joint to not use the name until September 6. Till then it will hear the matter and we'll know what happens next.
All right, now SEBI has imposed a fine on businessman Anil Ambani and banned him from capital markets for 5 years in an alleged funds diversion case. Ambani has said that he is reviewing the SEBI order, but the question is how and where did the 8,800 crore rupees go? What next for Anil Ambani? And to tell us more on that, Sajid is with us.
Loans were disbursed on fast track. There was due processes which were not followed. No field investigation was done before giving out any of the loans. No creation of security was done against those loans because these were given under the garb of working capital. There was no customer rating and no escrow account which was created there. In fact, there was no documentation which was undertaken by the company or its officials when it gave out those loans. The second big question that comes in is that where did this 8,884 crores go? The first thing is that it was first transferred to 43 entities which were directly or indirectly related to the Reliance Anil Ambani group, of which the 43 entities got nearly 8,847 crores, and this was transferred to 19 entities of the group. And of these 19 entities, 14 entities had nexus with the promoter group there. Reliance Capital, got nearly 2,359 crores, followed by Reliance Commercial, which was 2,278 crores. Reliance Infra, which is a listed company and which saw some correction on Friday, got nearly 1,559 crores. Reliance Home Finance, ultimately received some 1,500 crores back. There were some other companies like Reliance Big Entertainment, Broadcast, which got over 200 crores each.
Well, it is time for our special series on personal finance. On today's episode of Adulting 101, we are focusing on a crucial but often overlooked aspect of retirement, which is planning for your health care. In this segment, let's explore why it's smart for young people to start early and how you can manage planning for your retirement health care effectively.
Government jobs often come with comprehensive healthcare benefits covering many medical expenses. But if you're in the private sector, where coverage might be limited, it's essential to plan and save for your healthcare needs. Here's how you can start planning for healthcare expenses to use in your retirement. Health insurance is a key component of your planning. Individual health plans can start from as low as 3,000 rupees per year with coverage around 5 lakh rupees. These plans can be more affordable for young individuals. Some examples of such plans are HDFC Ergo Health Suraksha, Star Health Family, Health Optima, ICICI Lombard Complete Health Insurance, Bajaj Alliance General Insurance, and more. Starting to save early can have a big impact. For example, if you save 500 rupees per month in a healthcare fund and invest it in a fixed deposit or a low-risk investment with an average annual return of 6%, by the time you're 65, you could accumulate around lakhs of rupees. Remember, even a 5-day hospital stay can result in substantial expenses, especially if unexpected complications arise. That's why having an emergency fund is crucial. Did you know that there are tax benefits on healthcare insurance premiums? Yes, these benefits come under Section 80D of the Income Tax Act. You can claim deductions up to Rs 25,000 for premiums paid for yourself and your family. Planning for healthcare expenses is a vital part of securing your financial future. By making informed decisions and preparing now, you can ensure you're ready for unexpected medical costs and protect your future well-being.
Now, FSSAI has withdrawn its advisory on removal of claims of A1 and A2 types of milk and milk products from their packaging. This comes after the food safety regulator was criticized for its move and asked for a high-level committee to examine the matter. Last week, the FSSAI had cracked down on food companies and e-commerce platforms to remove A1 and A2 labels on dairy products, citing that they were misleading. Well, the Ministry of Home Affairs has announced the creation of 5 new districts in the Union Territory of Ladakh. These new districts are Zanskar, Dras, Sham, Nubra and Changfang. Previously, Ladakh had only 2 districts, that's Leh and Kargil. With the addition of these 5 new districts, the total number of districts in Ladakh now increases to 7. The Home Minister Amit Shah took to social media platform X and made the announcement. The tweet said, and I quote, "In pursuit of Prime Minister Modi's vision to build a developed and prosperous Ladakh, the MHA has decided to create 5 new districts in the Union Territory. The new districts, namely Zanskar, Dras, Sham, Nubra and Changfang, will take the benefits meant for the people to their doorsteps by bolstering governance in every nook and cranny. The Modi government is committed to creating abundant opportunities for the people of Ladakh," unquote. Well, now on to a possible Me Too movement emerging from Kerala. Actor Meenu Munir has accused stars M. Mukesh and Jay Surya of sexual harassment. This comes after the Justice Hema Committee report highlighted rampant sexual abuse in the Malayalam film industry. Uma Sudhir sent us this report.
The Hema Commission report on the condition of women in the Malayalam film industry came at a time when the country was in fact debating workplace safety, especially after the unfortunate incident that happened in Kolkata that had a doctor being sexually assaulted and murdered inside a hospital. Hema Commission report was quite scathing about the Malayalam film industry, said that there is casting couch significantly present in the industry, that women are intimidated physically, verbally and sexually, and also that the industry is controlled by a group of about 15 people, all of them men, actors, directors and producers. Subsequently, it's as though a Pandora's box has been opened, with many women coming out with allegations saying that they had made this complaint in the past and that they had not been taken seriously, and there was demand on the left front government to in fact take action. And yesterday, Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan held a meeting with several top officers there and constituted a special investigation team that will be headed by a woman officer that will look into these allegations of misconduct, misbehavior, sexual assault and harassment that the women are alleging. Subsequently, we have seen women who have come out and taken many prominent names in the industry. And on Sunday, Siddiq, a prominent actor who has acted in about 350 films and has also been a producer and director, he had to resign as secretary of the Association of Malayalam Movie Artists. He had in fact taken up the post only 2 months ago, following his predecessor also had resigned following allegations of sexual harassment by a young artist, junior artist. And Siddiq has now in fact filed a complaint with the DGP alleging that the allegations made against him are baseless.
And now on to top international news. Israel has declared a 48-hour state of emergency after Hezbollah responded to Israel's attack by firing more projectiles. Now, about 200 projectiles were fired. As per reports, limited damage was caused by the attack. 1 Israeli soldier was killed by falling debris and 3 other deaths were reported in Lebanon. In retaliation to this attack, the Israelis launched 100 airstrikes to prevent further escalation. This face-off between Israel and Hezbollah marks one of the most significant clashes in over 10 months of the ongoing border conflicts. Now, after the arrest of Telegram CEO Pavel Durov, the company took to X and issued a statement. In the statement, the company says Telegram abides by European Union laws, including the Digital Services Act. Its moderation is within industry standards and constantly improving. Telegram CEO Pavel Durov has nothing to hide and travels frequently in Europe. It is absurd to claim that a platform or its owner are responsible for the abuse of the platform. Almost 1 billion users globally use Telegram as a means of communication and as a source of vital information. We are awaiting a prompt resolution of the situation. Now, Telegram is with you all. Durov, the founder and CEO of the messaging app, was detained at the Paris airport after arriving from Azerbaijan. An arrest warrant has been issued by French authorities alleging his platform has been used for money laundering, drug trafficking and other offences. We are now joined by Malika Mishra for a detailed report about his arrest. Malika, take us through the details that we are getting on this.
Telegram CEO Pavel Durov has been arrested by French authorities for alleged money laundering, drug trafficking, terrorism, and sharing content on child abuse. And according to some reports, the app is also under the scanner in India. Investigations have revealed that criminal groups use the app for their communication. Now, it is important to note that Durov, also known as Russia's Mark Zuckerberg, has a history of defying governments. One primary example of it was in 2014 when he refused Russia's demand to shut down opposition communities on VK, his other social media platform. This in fact led him to flee his home country, Russia. But on the other side, he has also gained some substantial support. For instance, when he was arrested, American commentator Tucker Carlson said that the arrest was for refusing to censor the truth. He said that this is a living warning to any platform owner who refuses to censor the truth at the behest of governments and intel agencies. Even Telegram has issued a statement on the arrest saying, and I quote, "It is absurd to claim that a platform or its owner is responsible for the abuse of that platform." End of quote. Telegram posted on X that the app abides by EU laws, including the Digital Services Act. Do you think the arrest is justified, or is it an attempt to censor the truth? Do let us know your thoughts.
Now, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has asked for joint European backing to thwart the Russian operations. He also drew comparison of the European unity to the ongoing crisis in the Middle East. Zelensky's appeal comes after Kyiv was attacked by Russian forces this morning in a series of missile and drone attacks during peak rush hour. At least 3 people have reportedly died due to the attack. According to Ukrainian Air Force, Russia deployed 11 Tu-95 strategic bombers in the air and launched several missiles. And the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has raised $540 million in little more than a month since she began her race for the President of the United States, with a surge of donations during the Democratic National Convention last week. According to her campaign, Harris's campaign manager, Jen O'Malley, Dillon said that nearly a third of contributions during the convention week came from first-time contributors. Well, that's all we have time for on this edition of Profit 360. Thank you very much for joining us, but stay with us on NDTV Profit as we bring you more.